Hello, today we're here to talk about the video called I Summoned King Paimon the Truth and Melinda the Mystic Witch a little bit in general, because it so appears that if you look up King Paimon online, this is the first search result that you get, hence why it over time garnered over 75,000 views. A lot of people don't actually look into the creators that make videos on spirituality, and a lot of people don't actually dig very deep into spirituality. They take things at face value. It is especially problematic when you have a creator that is very imaginative in their practices. This lady mostly does astral projection through dreaming, which makes a lot of her experiences dreams, and both astral projection and dreaming, it deals highly with the imagination, it deals highly with your own psyche, and you have to be very, very careful about your personal projections coming through, because it is gonna very much influence what you're getting. You shouldn't be taking these things at face value. You should be investigating these things about what they tell you about yourself and what they tell you about how you perceive things and what they tell you about situations in real life around you. She does say that she practices through dreams or that she astral projects from time to time, but she also spins in feelings that she might have been getting in real life, creating a picture that's very mishy-moshy. Together with, she doesn't actually disclose how she's doing things, so things kind of run by dream logic, and dream logic does not actual spirituality make. I'm gonna dissect parts of the video. The thing that you know is that effectively she's talking about a spirit that deals with arts and sciences and giving familiars, and that they're connected to the sun. That's why they bear the title the king. I don't think that she has done her due diligent research. I think that her imagination ran wild, and because of where her imagination went, I'm gonna assume that she has experiences with violence, sexual violence, or she's somehow expecting that to happen to her in her own dreams. It's I'm not saying that victims of violence and sexual violence deserve it. No, absolutely, they do not. But if you have not experienced it, and these are the kind of dreams that your mind weaves, oftentimes it means that you have low self esteem or that you're projected some sort of emotion of, hey, this thing that I'm imagining is evil. What would an evil thing would do? So places that her mind goes, it's not very healthy places, and it's not very spirituality connected places. It's the kind of things that if were at the forefront of my mind, I would be sitting down and dissecting it through, self therapy or, in other words, shadow work. There's no want to introspect or reflect in here. Everything is taken at face value. I'm gonna play clips of the video. I hope that YouTube gods are with me, because sometimes if you play clips of other people's videos, they can get your video removed because, you're showing content that's not yours. As such, this video is not gonna be monetized to limit the chance of that happening. I'm also gonna be using just a minimum amount of clips. Before we get in though, I'm wearing a really nice violet eyeshadow that you absolutely can't see on camera, and it's very bugging me, so it's so soft. I absolutely love it. And I hate that it's not being reflected. So sorry, I had to do that. I mean, if I'm bothering to put on makeup, I honestly wish that, people could actually see it. Anyway, to sum up the whole story that happens in this 45-minute video in order for you not to have to watch the whole 45 minutes with me, because that would definitely be not allowed on YouTube. She heard of Paimon from Hereditary. She has not heard of Paimon before then. She has decided to summon Paimon. She has done this inside a dream, where dream logic took place because she was reading for a particular book, saying very particular phrases. And if you didn't do it correctly, the entity would appear and scream at you, which is peak dream logic. Mostly in the fact that particular book and particular phrases kind of just makes it sound like you honestly can't remember, which, yeah, it's a dream. You could be reading gobbledygook of the book of the gobbledygooky goots. Normally, if you want to have a spiritually meaningful experience in a dream, you're gonna remember signs, you're gonna remember names, you're gonna remember book titles, and you will be able to look them up and they will exist in the real world. When you're making gobbledygook rituals inside the gobbledygook space that just kind of reflects your own brain back at you, it's not necessarily spiritually meaningful. But anyway, she summoned King Paimon in her dreams. He appeared to be very attractive, and she is very sexually motivated. So she kept on summoning Paimon in her dreams. And over time, her dreams turned into torture and sexual torture. And she talks about how everything that she saw in there that was very pretty must have been an illusion. I am a spiritual person. I am a practicing spiritual person. I think one thing to note about dream spirituality, meditation, and astral projection is that it is all an illusion, no matter how pretty or not pretty it looks. It is a mindscape. The mindscape is the bendy, wobbly, woobly place that just kind of bends with the bends in your brain. So it's great for self-analyzing, but it's good to remember that that is not an actual place. It's not solid. It's not that somebody came in a solid place and stood on solid ground and casted an illusion upon you. All of it is whatever your mind conjured up there. And you can have meaningful spiritual experiences through meaningful spiritual signs. Cats, please don't fight. That's not very nice. I'm making a video in here. But you have to sift through it and find the meaning. Something just looking pretty or something just looking ugly delivers no meaning. It's more of a projection of what you want to see. So if you're sitting on a pile of gold, unless gold in itself carries very particular meaning to you, and there is a reason why you had to look at the yellow monetary currency, it's just a pretty thing to sit upon inside your brain space. It's not actually there. None of it is actually there. It's the same as like sitting on a pile of poop. It's also not actually there. It's your brain space. That is an important thing to remember. Spiritually significant dreams, astral projections, and anything like that will have some sort of more meaning to it than just thing looked nice, thing looked ugly. More important, it's gonna be something that you absolutely can't forget. It's like, hey, I've seen this very weird thing in my dream. I can't get it out of my mind. Let me draw it and let me reverse pictures. Oh, hey, look, it's a real thing. And there we go. It's actually a thing that I can look into and research. So that is where my dream, my brain was leading for me to look into. Or it's gonna have like a very particular theme. It's gonna have like a very particular conflict, or it's gonna have a very particular conflict resolution. And you're like, I don't know, man. It feels really meaningful. It feels really meaningful. At that point, you just kind of sit down and you meditate, or you think the hard, thinky thoughts about what said landscape meant to you. You analyze it. You don't just, take the landscape and run with it. So, with this huge intro out of the way, I effectively summed up to you what's in the video and what is wrong with the video. I am gonna take a couple of timestamps and we're gonna talk about some things more in depth. Now, she is gonna sound a tiny bit higher pitched than she normally is because I have this video on 1.2 speed. I view content that I don't want to view but feel like I should view because it comes up so often and people going, is this true? Is this how it really is? Because this is the #1 search result when you search for King Paimon on the internet. So I felt like I kind of had to at some point investigate this video. This is like the last thing from this lady that I touched upon 2 other things. I think that is enough. She has her own problems. She has her own very serious life problems. She's a singular mother. She's kind of poor. I don't much care about where her spirituality takes her. I hope that it grants her some solace. People deserve solace. I wish that she used it a bit less of an escape, especially considering that in her recent postings she was stating that she doesn't want to create real life connections. She doesn't want to find a life partner, and she doesn't want to get friends because they don't live up to the expectations of divine beings, which is a bit projecting the I am lonely, but I am not gonna seek the real life solution to it. I am instead gonna live as if I am living with my imaginary friends. It's not a good place to be, spiritually or mentally. I hope that at some point she gently gets pushed out of that phase and she leads a happier, more fulfilling life, because spirituality should add to your life. It shouldn't be retracting from it. But she is a poor woman and she deserves the best, like everybody else. We're not here to, laugh and mock at this person. The only reason that I'm here is to reiterate because this is the top search result for King Paimon, which is, it is just a big can of worms. It keeps on coming back up like the internet is regularly regurgitating this piece of content. But don't hate the person in the content, please. They have problems. Probably like the rest of us. They have some serious problems, and I hope that life gets better, not worse. One of the things that I'm gonna note is that she uses spooky ooky music for quite a bit of this. I think people use it as an aesthetic choice. I would personally not super trust content using spooky ooky music. It normally is trying to set the tone, and the tone is a bit fantastical and spooky ooky. Hollywood did a horror movie ooky. It's not very spiritual. If you are a spiritual person talking about spiritual things and you really, really, really need background noise, I would suggest not getting a cat, but I would also suggest using something, I don't know, kind of calm and general, not offensive, something that anyone forgets the moment that they pass, but that kind of feels good on the eardrums, like lo-fi beats to tell your spiritual story to. I don't know. Find something that, carries some thematical, I suppose thematical good vibes, just non-descriptive good vibes. They go far if you want any kind of music. The moment you start doing the spooky ooky music, I am gonna assume that the video is here to try and shock me and to be all Hollywoody and I don't know, ghost hunty and very jumpy umpy and not spiritual. So anyway, let's progress.
And it was suddenly a struck of curiosity that I just felt I had to do it. It was after I did the movie review of the Hereditary film. I do not like that movie for many reasons, but it was a good film, but it definitely was a really screwed up movie. But aside from that, I had never heard of King Paimon until that film.
This person, red flag number one. If you're like sitting on a YouTube video and you're like, okay, this person self-identifies as a demonologist, and then they hit you with this. I have not heard of King Paimon until Hereditary. I don't know what their person's definition of demonology is, but they're probably not an expert of their field. Please don't take what people online say too hard, too much in general. Research what is presented to you. Once again, this is some lady's personal, spiritual, bit questionable, but personal dreamscape experiences. And when you go, oh, you know, she is a serious demonologist, you start going to subreddits to do with demon worship and start going, hey, is this video true? Well, first flag number one for you. I have not heard of King Paimon until Hereditary. I don't know what else to tell you. Moving on.
Details that you deserve. And in my book, Demon Dealer, that's my personal autobiography of my near-death experience, how I became a demonologist, and why I am pursuing demonology in hopes to help people for free. And in that book, I do talk about King Paimon. Now, there's a lot of entities in that book that I haven't mentioned on my channel, including King Paimon, but I felt at this point it's my favorite story, and it's my least favorite story at the same time. There's reasons for that. I know you're probably even wondering, how is that your favorite? It's a demon. How is that your favorite? There's reasons. So it was last year, and at one point I just felt, when I astral projected, I suddenly decided I just had to do it. So one of my guides specifically...
I'm gonna stop it right here because she is trying to help people. She wrote a book on her personal experiences. This experience happened last year. Probably did not last all that long. Because she, by that point, managed to package it into a book. And remember, before last year, she has not heard about King Paimon. And she's selling that book on the internet. It's not like it's a free thing, and it's meant to help people. So it is a person that has not heard of a spirit, that has had a dreamscape encounter with said spirit, probably has not even done proper research on the spirit, and things that she says definitely sounds like she has not done proper research on the spirit, such as knowing that titles are stand-in for planets. That's a pretty, you know, low-level information. She had that experience. She then immediately wrote about it and she put on Amazon to sell it. And then she's basing this video off this experience. And the point is to help people. When you're having experiences and you're trying to package them in order to help people, it really helps if you take the time to actually sit with the experience yourself, to finalize the experience and to, you know, ruminate about it and actually figure out what it means before you share it. But she put it in a book right immediately after. And before that, she did not even know what King Paimon was. And there's no way to access her book for free. It is entirely paid for and entirely on Amazon. I have some books because writing is my hobby. I'm also a Luciferian, so that's kind of fitting. But I don't know if you know this, but you can access all of my books for free on Reddit. I have a big mega thread and I had thrown them on Google. I mostly allow people to rip from them however they please, except with a couple of exceptions where I had to contact other authors and be like, hey, can I use your symbol in the book? Or hey, can I use your other creative property in the book? In that case, no, you cannot rip those parts and share them around. You can only, rip the parts that are either free domain, so copyright free, or are my own personal thoughts. Those things you can reuse however you want. Those books are also available on Amazon for the convenience of either A, you wanted it to be printed and you wanted a company to do it for you, or you wanted to give me some money because some people are generous. I don't hide the fact that despite it being my personal experiences, despite the fact that I've been spiritual for 5 years, and despite my best attempts at doing as much research as possible, I am not like some sort of university graduate of occult studies. I am not someone that has access to vast libraries. I am another person on the internet, and I try my damnedest to make good quality content for the spiritual community that I am personally engaged with. And you can judge this content however you see fit, and you can access this content for free. One thing that you should definitely never do as a writer or as a spiritualist is to go, I had this experience, let me take it at face value. Well, I haven't even done proper research before having this experience. Then let me put it in a book, let me sell it, and then let me say that it is in hopes of helping someone else. That is not very helpful because you haven't even taken the steps to break down your own experience. You haven't done anything with it. You just put out a whole bunch of muddy blah, blah, blah on the internet, which is just kind of it's bad for the search results. That's all I can say. At the very least, it shows that King Paimon's fairly search. I mean, 75,000 views, not bad. Anyway, moving on. Where she kind of talks about how she has done what she set out to do a little bit.
And I decided to do this summoning session where I, on the astral realm, decided to summon him. And I described this in my...
So, astral realm, either in my imagination or in my dreams. Just immediately translate that thing because it's a bit like entering a trance state and it reflects your brain a lot.
My book, Demon Dealer. And what I did was I truth manifested a book right in my hands, and it showed me all of the ways to summon King Paimon. And there are things about him that are intriguing but scary at the same time. And one of the things is if you have to chant a certain phrase, and you also have to do it in the right way. Because if you don't do it in the right way, when he does appear and you talk to him without doing certain things first, he will immediately scream this very loud, blood-curdling, unbelievable scream.
So, when you're having a weird dream, and you're like, here is a book with all the ways of summoning King Paimon. Specifics, please, because if you have specifics from your dream, you can then research those specifics up on a Google search and see if your dream matches reality in any way, shape, or form. If the dream says with its dream me logic that if you do something wrong, a boogeyman will appear and scream at you. You can also, compare if anyone has written anything like that out there whatsoever, or if it was your brainy, dreamy brain doing brainy, dreamy things. Because right now I could go to bed and let's have a dream about Astaroth. And I could be like, and a book appeared, and it told me of all the ways to summon Astaroth. No, I'm not going to elaborate. Why are you asking me that? So, it gave me very specific instructions. And if I was to do this wrong, an elementary school teacher would appear and spank me on my butthole. That would be the cue to go, that is my dreamy brain doing dreamy, brainy things. That doesn't quite sound like a spiritual experience that has some logic to it and some way of you to verify what you have been dreaming. I should probably break down about what that says with my want to be punished and fascination with elementary school teachers in this case. Let's progress. Now, this is where something that you really should be introspecting on what she says, and I don't mean you the viewer, I mean she the creator. I wanna get as little off her clips as possible so that YouTube doesn't go, yeah, you can't have this online. So we're being extra careful, hence why I'm just trying to go by the seconds even.
After I did what was required, he then changed his whole appearance magically before my eyes, and suddenly from this ugly, dead-looking guy, all of a sudden he was the most beautiful man I'd ever seen in my life. One of the most. I've seen many others, especially like Archangel Michael. Even Lucifer is absolutely gorgeous. There are many beings that are beautiful, even female beings that are beautiful. So, but the thing is that demons do not look beautiful, okay? This was an illusion, okay? This was all fake. But it took me this experience to understand the power of demons and how they influence and make people follow them. This is why so many people that are demonolatry practitioners, people that practice demon worshiping, summoning, Satanists that worship demons, and many other Luciferians that worship demons or devils or even Lucifer or Satan. The biggest mistake that a lot of these innocent bystander people don't realize.
I'm gonna pause right here because she continues to mumble on and that thought actually never ends. Anyway, what she was trying to say is that the reason why people choose a spirituality is because the spirits in said spirituality are sexy. My counter to that would be you're being horny. Because you are. A lot of the time, spirituality does not look like anything. Thinky thoughts, feelings, perhaps a sensation or two. It's not very visual. When it is visual, you're not guaranteed to even see anything humanoid shaped. Sometimes you have a dream and that cube thing in front of you just had like the wisest thought ever, and you're like, yeah, that really felt like my god. It's not necessarily gonna be very visually stimulating or a thirst trap if everything comes out as being very visually stimulating and sexy to you. That's probably because you're horny, honestly. Another thing to reflect is that her own spiritual guides to her are also very sexy and pretty and beautiful. If you had written down that, hey, all of this is an illusion, you kind of have to follow that thought to maybe my own guides don't look like that either. Maybe they don't look like anything, because to look like anything, you need a physical body and you need a pair of physical eyes to be looking at you, to perceive you. Everything that happens in the brainscape is very, very bendable because it is the brainy, thinky thoughts. I know that to some people by this point, they might be having some sort of mental crisis going, are you saying that spirituality is entirely internal? No, my personal opinion though is that it doesn't matter if you perceive it as internal or external. You can perceive your own thinky thoughts as influencing a bit more than just your own brain. You can perceive the astral realm as like an actual thing, but you have to know that it is entirely malleable and pliable. It's not If I'm holding a lipstick right now, it's thick. It's there. It will always be thick and there. It has a substance to it because it is physical. If this was a brain space, I could be holding a lipstick at one moment, and then a cat at another, and then a dog at another, and a mojito, or anything whatsoever, because it is not a physical object. It isn't thick. It isn't with substance. It is what you want it to be. Therefore, a lot of the spiritual experiences kind of get modified by your brain. It is important to know that it doesn't actually physically look like anything, because physically there is nothing to look upon. I realize that is a hard thought to follow. I hope that you can follow it. If I know that this is gonna be like a really, really bad example, and that I probably shouldn't tell you, but go and like watch a funny song called Transcendental Cha Cha Cha, and just kind of note the chaos, like just the general gist of chaos, and imagine it as a mind realm, and just know that you can do something like that. And now imagine that multiple minds were interacting with one mind realm that can be absolutely anything. Now imagine that it's two minds, that like that the spirit and yours, and it kind of starts meeting in the middle. But either way, it's not like a thing that is. It is a thinky thought. It can be whatever it wants to be, and normally what it is kind of either a reflection of what you want to see, what you need to work through, or it is some sort of message to you that you then need to, sit down and parse, like you would parse a dream. If your husband is cheating on you in the dream, it doesn't mean that your husband is a cheater. It doesn't mean that you should wake up and whack your husband. It probably means that you have an insecurity to do with cheating. It's a self-reflection thing. It has to enter a spiritual practice. Please don't look at very dreamy, imaginative people and take it at face value. That's not helpful for anyone. Moving on. Now, this bit I marked because it's kind of hard to now tell what is reality and what isn't, because she fluidly mixes the two.
Was judged harshly, and there were even times where I wanted to believe that he could be positive. But even the truth is when he was around me, his energy constantly drained me unbelievably bad.
His energy constantly drained me when he was around me. Okay, lady, where is this happening? The dreamscape? The astral realm? Your personal feelings?
There were times where I would have massive head pains. I would feel very nauseous. I would have all kinds of nightmares, constant nightmares. And
when you go massive head pains, I feel very nauseous, I'm having nightmares, I'm now thinking, okay, this has to be the real you. But the slip is just so seamless and so back and forward that she doesn't draw the lines between, what is reality and what is her dreamscape. That's slightly worrying, but that might just be her way of speech. I'm not gonna say that she's mixing the two up herself. She might just be forgetting to specify, but it doesn't help for the standing outlooker. Now, if you're having averse reactions to a spirit, it could be the way that your energy interacts with them. Some spirits make me feel heavy. Some spirits make me feel dizzy. If you're having bouts of nausea and headaches and they're lasting permanently, I would assume that you're probably physically ill. This might be to do with you not getting quality sleep, because you're trying to be constantly astral projecting in your dreams. Now, if you're having a lot of nightmares, it would be good to break down what those nightmares are and kind of figure out where they're coming from. You're a complex being. Sometimes it's gonna be coming from like a specific trauma or something that you don't want to look at. Sometimes it's just stress or too much screen time before sleep, which is something that you definitely need to address if you're having problems with nightmares. Watching spooky movies like Hereditary does not help. Getting an impression of a spirit off a spooky movie like Hereditary and trying to do dream work with that imagination of a spirit probably does not help in, experiencing nightmares. Just an FYI. In order to make YouTube a bit less angry, this is gonna be the last clip that I use.
Smelled like flowers, and there was so much goodness and pleasure in this realm, and I didn't realize that everything that I was seeing was all an illusion. It was all fake. I was literally blinded. My eyes.
Well, yes, it is a dream. What do you expect the dream to be real? Do you think you wake up from the dream and everything that you saw in the dream is like right there in front of you? Once again, it's the running theme of the video, a lack of introspection, that if you realize that dreamscapes are fake, you should extend that a bit further and realize that no matter a dreamscape is positive or negative, it is still not reality. From here on end, she then starts talking about being given a necklace by the spirit, which made her perceive things in the way that they were not. That is very much a brain wanting to have a narrative, because brains like to be main characters in situations and spin up stories that are interesting to follow. Interestingly enough, when I meditated after watching this video before making this video, in meditation, Lucifer gave me a necklace of an ankh because he was all like, hey, have fun Googling that one. I had fun Googling that one. It is a pretty nice symbol. I enjoyed that. Like, hey, thanks for that. That was amusing. But here's the thing. I'm not wearing some sort of astral necklace on my astral body. I had a meditative vision. If you're having a dreamy dream, it doesn't mean that it literally happened to you. You had a dreamy dream. Some separation between what is real and what is not, and how to stay grounded really, really, really helps with that spirituality. And I know that it makes it boring because you then can't see yourself as like the main character and you can't project very funny, fun, happy storylines into it where you're all of these things because all of these things happen to you in your dreams. You still have to wake up and be the boring old you, which is not as fun as, not being a boring old you. From this point onwards, the video really progresses into her going and he tortured me, and the torture was really bad. And it was like 2 minutes in real time, but it was like years inside my brain. And it was sexual torture, and I had to do sexual things. I want to at some point talk about where kinks meet spirituality, but if your brain is going to these scenarios, I feel like there's something to it. Like, if you're repeatedly going, okay, and now torture, and now sex with torture, there's something there for you to unravel, but it's not for me to unravel because I can't see inside your brain. That is for you to figure out why your mind is going there. I don't want to make assumptions because the assumptions would be very, very dark of this person has experienced something like this and they're effectively reliving it through experiencing it through their dreams. And no matter how they practice their spirituality, at some point it re-enters it, especially when they're imagining what, in their opinion, should be bad people. I'm just here to tell you that is not very spiritual, and that is a fairly sensitive subject. And once again, brains work in a very weird ways. If your brain constantly, latches onto the same subject over and over and over again. It's worth experiencing why that is, and don't just go, the big lettuce man took me to the dreamscape and did bad things to me because he was controlling me through the pills planted in carrot cakes. Because that was a dream. And if you have no lines separating dream from reality, that is a problem. You then can't just take that dream and extract important information from it, where the whole storyline was going, perhaps, or some sort of symbols that you saw in that dream, perhaps, or actual actionable things that you can then, research when awake. It was a dream doing dream things. It wasn't very spiritual. When you have a spiritual thing, it is legitimately something you can't shake off, and it does not feel like a storyline. It does not. If it was like a storyline, it would be like a storyline of a specific purposed thing. Like you saw a very specific thing and it followed a very specific narrative, and then you can, dissect said narrative and figure out how it applies to your real life. We dream about all sorts of things. You can be flying in Harry Potter, you can be screwing some monkeys, you can be riding some dinosaurs. It doesn't make it real. It doesn't make you spiritual. That's not how it works. If anyone actually wants to be spiritual with King Paimon, a video like that is not gonna be very helpful, especially when the person making the video said that they went to a dream, they poofed a book. The dream was very specific about what they have to do in order to summon this entity, no details given. And that if you do it wrong, bad things happen. That's very much dream logic. If you want to know how to invoke or evoke King Paimon, the methods out there are just infinite. Because spirituality is like an art form. One of the easiest ways would be to get objects that relate to the spirit you want to invoke, their color, their sign. Your camels, dromedaries would really do it. Color gold because sun. Their name, something like, a visual representation or a mindful representation of the spirit, and just meditate on it. Keep that in mind. Keep those objects in mind. Repeat their name. See where your mind goes when you do that. That is an easy, no tools required, empty, hand way of connecting to spirits. And always remember that mind does brainy things, and that whatever you receive, if it is meaningful, you'll have to decipher it. And if it comes off a little bit too much like a fantasy, it probably is. Anyway, I hope that this was helpful. I know that I waffle myself quite a bit. My cat is not helping me outside of being a virtual alarm clock telling me that it's time to stop the video. But it's suffice to say that if you're new to spirituality, this is not how spirituality be. And please don't just go online and consume content of content creators and be like, yeah, this is how spirituality be. It's gonna give you some very, very bad ideas, especially when you expect things to be literal, when you expect things to have a shape and a taste and a form and a feel and all of that. And it really turns you away from, actual spiritual practices. So if something really doesn't sound real, it probably isn't. I know that you want to hope because, magical funland, but it probably isn't. And that's not to say that you can't have really strong spiritual experiences. It's just that it's not gonna be as mumbly as what this lady presented. It's gonna be more direct to the point, and no, you're not gonna have an army of sex boys, inviting you as their queen into every possible realm and creating a storyline about necklaces and projections and mesmerism and illusions and all of that good stuff. That probably means that you're horny. Kind of enters people's practice quite a lot, but you kind of have to remember the you element in all of it. So that's a hard one. I hope that this has been helpful in dissecting this video. If you knew absolutely nothing of what I was talking about, then I'm very sorry. It's very hard to explain something while also dissecting a video. I just hope that I set the expectations on a better level than where this lady sets the expectations on. And yeah, if something sounds really, really, really incredibly fake, like it could be somebody's dream, it probably is somebody's dream. That is important to take note of. And some people do experience spirituality in this very, very imaginative way. But especially when this lady, she's having trouble painting the lines herself, which probably means that she's not a very reliable narrator when it comes to what is real and spiritual and what is her own dreams and the themes that she experienced, how they intersect with what she is, experiencing in the dreams. As such, it is very attractive content because it's very imaginative, it's very evoking, it's very visual, but it's not very representative of reality, just like the movies that she was reviewing and watching. Like Hereditary is not very representative of reality. It is a funny, spooky movie. Well, it's not really funny, but it is spooky, and people find spooky enjoyable sometimes. It is meant to be entertainment. Okay, I probably ran out of things to say now, hopefully. So, waffle end. Thank you for watching. Please don't put too much heart into online media. If you want to be spiritual, please do a bit more research than the YouTube video. That would be a start. Hope I'm gonna see you in my other videos. I do video games. I talk about video games. And I do occult stuff. What an odd channel, eh? But that's my hobbies, and it's been 14 years that this channel has been running, so I'm kind of just using it as just the wastebasket of me at the moment. Like, what I'm interested, I just throw it in, and I'm happy with it. And I hope that you're happy with it too. So thank you for watching. Hopefully I'm gonna see you the next time. Toodaloo.